Something is very, very wrong. Former child star Melissa Gilbert has sounded a chilling warning following the death of actress Hayden Panettiere at the age of 36. The Little House on the Prairie star has opened up about Panettiere's death in a new essay, calling the loss deeply personal. Gilbert claimed she too experienced the pressures of growing up and working in Hollywood from a young age. Gilbert said the deaths of former child performers raised serious questions about what happens to young stars once the spotlight fades. Almost a week after Panettiere's death, Gilbert called for better support for young Hollywood actors as they transition into adulthood. In an essay published on her Substack on August 22nd, Gilbert acknowledged that she did not know Panettiere personally, but she said the loss still felt personal. She wrote, "I did not know Hayden personally and only worked briefly with Mishy and Dave. It feels personal because I was them." Gilbert was also referring to former child actresses Daveigh Chase and Michelle Trachtenberg, and that is when she delivered her starkest warning. "We are all members of the same tribe, female former child performers, and when one of us dies, it runs through us all like an electrical current." She then added, "When three of us die so close together, something is very, very wrong." Gilbert said the issue went beyond the individual tragedies. She argued that the entertainment industry could exploit child performers while they are young and then leave them struggling as they enter adulthood. Gilbert described what she calls Dr. Show syndrome, a culture in which young performers learn to keep working even when they are sick or emotionally struggling. And she says she knows that pressure firsthand. Gilbert recalled losing her father when she was just 11 years old. She said she returned to work on Little House within months. But according to Gilbert, not one adult on the set discussed her grief or offered condolences. She later learned that there was a fear she would become too upset to work. Gilbert said that experience helped create a pattern of putting work ahead of her own well-being, something she says nearly worked her to death a few times. She recalls undergoing an emergency appendectomy while filming a movie in Oregon. Just 3 days later, Gilbert said she returned to work because she felt so bad that it was affecting her schedule. Then she became seriously ill. Gilbert said she developed a horrible fever, but continued filming until she finished her work. She flew home and was immediately hospitalized. She even said, "I was on the verge of sepsis." She said she was hallucinating from the fever. For Gilbert, that experience became part of a much larger lesson, one she believes is particularly important when talking about children working in entertainment. Gilbert said child performers should never be expected to sacrifice their health or childhood simply to keep a production moving. She wrote, "These young professionals are children, and we should make sure they are allowed to be children." She said they should be allowed to say no, should not be pushed through physical or emotional pain, and should not be expected to support their entire families. She also warned about the constant scrutiny that can follow young stars, including cameras, phones, and intrusive public attention. Gilbert's comments come as the entertainment world continues to process Panettiere's death. The actress became a familiar face at a young age and went on to star in projects including Heroes and Nashville. Her death has also prompted renewed discussion about the pressures faced by performers who grow up in the public eye. For Gilbert, the tragedy was a reminder that fame in childhood does not erase the vulnerabilities that come with being a child. Earlier, Hayden Panettiere's mother, Leslie Vogel, hit back at her late daughter's abuse claims, reopening a deeply painful mother-daughter rift.
Hayden Panettiere's mother is putting their turbulent relationship back under the spotlight, with Leslie Vogel now directly pushing back against her late daughter's claims of abuse. In an interview published by the Daily Mail on August 22nd, Leslie addressed allegations Hayden had made about her childhood and insisted she was a demanding mother, but not an abusive one. She said, "I was strong, definitely, but I was not abusive by any stretch of the imagination." Her comments come after Hayden spoke candidly about their complicated relationship during a May appearance on Jay Shetty's On Purpose podcast while promoting her memoir, This Is Me, A Reckoning. And in that memoir, Hayden made several deeply personal claims about growing up under her mother's intense expectations. She described Leslie as a perfectionist and alleged that her mother once superglued a fallen tooth back into her mouth because she did not want Hayden to lose a job. Hayden also wrote that her mother pushed her toward more traditionally girly clothing, even though she preferred a tomboy style. But Leslie now says the pressure Hayden felt was not something she deliberately placed on her daughter. Instead, she believes Hayden put that pressure on herself. Leslie told the Daily Mail, "I think that Hayden put pressure on herself. I know that she has mentioned, always had to please mom or make sure it was, I succeeded or whatever. I didn't put that on her. I think she put that on herself." And Leslie went further, arguing that parents simply cannot force very young children to perform or succeed in a particular way. Try making a 2 to 5-year-old child do something they don't want to do. Are you going to be successful? No, you're not, probably 99% of the time. That defense comes as scrutiny of the mother-daughter relationship intensifies following Hayden's death at 36, just days before her 37th birthday on August 21st. Hayden had used her final years to speak increasingly openly about the painful chapters of her life, including her relationship with her mother. Her memoir became the vehicle for many of those revelations, but Leslie had already pushed back against some of Hayden's claims. After the memoir was released in May, Leslie told Page Six that she believed some of Hayden's revelations were partially to sell books. She also described the agony of watching a child struggle, while insisting that a parent cannot always control the outcome. Leslie said, "No parent hopes for this scenario. We want our children to be the best they can be and live peaceful, joyful lives. But," she added, "sadly, this is out of our control." Her most striking line was even more blunt: "You cannot save someone who does not want to be saved." Now, Leslie is once again attempting to draw a line between being a tough, demanding mother and being an abusive one. Her version of events is that Hayden's drive to please her came from Hayden herself, rather than from deliberate pressure imposed by her mother. But that clashes sharply with some of the picture Hayden painted in her memoir, and the dispute is not new. Before the latest Daily Mail interview, Leslie had already spoken to the fractured relationship to Entertainment Tonight. In that interview, Leslie acknowledged that she and Hayden had become estranged, but she insisted that the distance between them was not because she had stopped caring for or loving her daughter.
Hayden Panettiere's mother is breaking her silence again, and this time she is pointing directly to what she calls a toxic individual in her daughter's life. The new statement comes after her first reaction to Hayden's death sparked intense backlash. Leslie Vogel told Entertainment Tonight that although she and Hayden were estranged, it was not because she stopped caring for or loving her daughter. Vogel says the estrangement was connected to the involvement of someone she believes was toxic to Hayden. In her latest statement, Vogel said she believes that individual led to her death. She did not name the person in this new statement, but her earlier comments identified Hayden's on-again, off-again boyfriend, Brian Hickerson. Vogel also claimed that Hayden had become involved with the wrong person and said her family had tried to remove him from her life but were ultimately unsuccessful. Vogel is also pointing to a new development in the case. The Drug Enforcement Administration has joined the investigation. She says that makes her believe there are still unanswered questions surrounding what happened. But Brian Hickerson's attorney is pushing back on the speculation. In a statement, his lawyer said Hayden's death remains under investigation and urged people to allow authorities to complete that process. The attorney also pointed to police reports saying there were no signs of foul play, while declining to comment further out of respect for Hayden's loved ones and the ongoing investigation. According to page 6, police records say Brian's brother, Zach Hickerson, found Hayden's body on a chair while Brian was reportedly sleeping in another room. Zach reportedly referred to Hayden as Brian's girlfriend while speaking with authorities. Hayden and Brian had been linked on and off since 2018 in a relationship that had previously been marked by allegations and cases involving domestic violence. Vogel's latest statement comes after her first public reaction was heavily criticized. In that initial statement, she directly named Brian Hickerson and said her family had been trying to get him out of Hayden's life for some time.